Folks, for the first time in Josh Allen's career, he will not maintain or be given a single preseason rep for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game and obviously for the previous two. I got to tell you, I am a bit perplexed. I have been battling back and forth whether or not that I agree with this move. So we're obviously going to be unpacking all of this as well as some practice updates. We heard from Sean McDermott about an hour ago. We're going to be looking at the injury report. We're going to be looking at some position battles that could be determined by this Saturday evening when we do face off on our final preseason game of the preseason, and much more on today's episode of the Don Mafia Report. I do need to give a giant apology to everybody that may have been waiting for my morning show. I was on the phone for, no kidding, 2+ hours with my car insurance company. I was trying to make a change from one company to another, and I'm sure that most of you know how that goes. It was a considerable time investment. I was on hold for about a half hour, and then once it was all said and done and I signed all the, forms, etc., I'm good. So obviously I could not have come live during my normal time. I'm typically live Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. EST. And today, obviously, we are not getting a start until noon, but I do appreciate everybody's patience. For those of you that are not typically around for my morning show, I highly recommend that you turn on bell notifications in case something like that ever happens throughout the season once again. But welcome, everybody. As you're coming in, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up sign, folks. It's the easiest way to show love over here on this channel. Subscribe and turn on bell notifications. And you know I'm nosy. Just go on ahead and let me know where you're tuning in from. What corner of the United States are you tuning in from? What corner of the globe are you tuning in from? Shout yourself out right in the chat. We are building an awesome community over here. Let me know, guys. Roll call in the chat. That is including all of the lurkers in the build. Go ahead and close this bad boy, man. Where is everybody tuning in from? As many of you guys know, while I am waiting for this roll call and waiting for more people to get up in here, I need to give a giant shout out to today's proud partner, and that just so happens to be our good friend, William Mattar. Folks, if you were ever hurt in a car, please, please, please do me a favor and call William Mattar, #1 car accident attorney in the state of New York. Obviously, I would not wish an injury on anybody, but say that it does happen, it is very important to have the right person in your corner. Look no further than my good friend, William Mattar, for all of your car accident concerns. All right, dude. Josh Allen, no preseason reps. That's obviously the topic of conversation today. And then we are also going to be taking a look at some injury reports and then really opening up for a Q&A segment. But this is the main story today, folks. Not sure how I feel about it. I'm about to get into my take here momentarily. Smash that like button, roll call in the chat. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Bill's guy from Wilmington, North Carolina. Beautiful city. I love that place. I'll tell you what. Arizona Mafia is in the building. Wilmington, Wyoming. 716 Ohio is in the building. Atlanta, Georgia. Dayton, Ohio. Connecticut, California. London, UK. Buffalo, snowy. Welcome. San Antonio, Texas. Steve, hope you're doing well, my friend. Dansville, New York. Albany, New York. Ashland Avenue, Buffalo. Here, let's go. Just Pizza. Rich, man. Hey, man, listen, if you guys are looking to do a little advertising, and so I might need a pizza partner this year, let me know. Lackawanna, New York is in the building. We got Hamburg, New York. South Buffalo is in the building. Dan's house. You are not in my house, man. You are not in my house, my friend, all right? My Doberman would have alerted me. Concover, North Carolina, and Irving, New York. Libby is in the building. I'm based out of Hamburg warehouse. Look at that. I am based out of the Hamburg warehouse. That's my guy right there. Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, and then Quebec City, Canada. All right, guys. So let's talk about the elephant in the room. How do we feel about this? So I got to tell you what, again, I am battling back and forth in my mind whether or not that I like this move. Because like mentioned at the beginning of this show, this is quite literally the first time that Josh Allen has never had a preseason rep before. And I got to tell you, say, for example, that we were playing literally any other team on our schedule for week 1. like maybe with the exception of like the Eagles, etc. But say, for example, that Buffalo was playing the New Orleans Saints for the first matchup of week 1 going into the 2025 season. Gotta tell you, I'd probably be feeling a hell of a lot better because last year, I think we can all remember that the Arizona Cardinals matchup on week 1 made us sweat all the way until the end of the game. And I acknowledge that Josh certainly ended up having somewhat rate of a preseason matchup. Say, for example, that Buffalo did not have a joint practice with the Chicago Bears. Perhaps I would be a bit more nervous than I am right now, but I really don't know how to feel about this, especially since we're going to be going up against a very good team. And so a team that more than likely has a chip on their shoulder from losing to us in the playoffs last year. And again, I don't want to sound like a broken record because I still maintain my position that I don't think week 1 really matters all that much, especially when you compare to some of the other contenders in the AFC. And so the Buffalo Bills have by and large the easiest schedule. But I still would have liked Josh to, at the very least, have a series against Tampa Bay. Like, at the very least, it's encouraging that we did have some live reps against Chicago last weekend during joint practice. So that's going to be ideal. But I really don't think that we can afford to have a slow start, like right during week 1 on Sunday Night Football. And so I really hope that so we see Josh out there. He's a bit rusty since that's going to be like his first real experience with live game reps. But I suppose now I'm curious to hear what everybody has to say about this decision. Still something that I'm battling back and forth with. So we have XO Put has come in with a great take saying, we start off hot with week 1. I think Josh should have at least got a series or 2. Yeah, man, you and I are on the exact same page about that. It's hard for me to wrap my head around it. Maybe one of the only reasons I could see McDermott making this decision was because we ultimately ended up having a joint practice with the Chicago Bears. If we did not have a joint practice, more than likely, I think we would have seen Josh this weekend for perhaps a series or 2. But now I suppose that we just need to trust his veteran mindset. And maybe we also need to look at the fact that for the most part, as far as all of the key contributors that made our offense move last year are all returning. Hopefully Shakir is back as well. I don't know. I just have a bad feeling of how fast the Bills are going to start on week 1. And so I'm not washing it up and I'm not wiping my hands saying, okay, this is a 100% an L for week 1. But I kind of have a feeling that it's going to be one of those heart attack games where Buffalo, for maybe at least the first 2 series, it's going to be pretty slow. I genuinely hope that I'm wrong, but that's kind of what I'm getting. Doesn't he need time with his new wide receivers? Yeah. One would assume so, right? One would assume that would be one of the top priorities for when it comes into it. Dan's feeling like McAfee lately. He came on late and he'd go off early. Respect it though. Hey, man, listen. So I was on the phone with a car insurance company for about an hour and some change. So I had to go on ahead and move the show directly. Don't worry. I promise my consistency with my morning show at 10 a.m. EST will return. I just appreciate all of you that clearly have your bell notifications turned on, that you were still able to join me today for a later edition of said show, man. I can really, really appreciate that. We have Midnight has come in saying it only matters because of the 1 seed. It does, but then it doesn't, right? So with Baltimore, they have a much harder division than us. And they are also playing the entire NFC North. So the Buffalo Bills, we have the AFC East, right? And we know that that's going to be a cakewalk like it typically is for us each and every single year. But then at the exact same time, we also need to acknowledge that we are playing the NFC South. And right outside of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, nowhere near compared to what the NFC North is going to be. So As far as difficulty of schedule, so the Buffalo Bills certainly have an advantage right within that period. We got Miles is coming in. He's saying, I'm thinking that maybe we should draft a good young quarterback to back up Josh because the 3 that we have now suck. So for me, I'm really not one to spend significant draft capital on a backup quarterback, especially for an offense that literally revolves around Josh Allen. Say, for example, that Josh were to go down for 6 games, so the season's over. So regardless of who we have, it's just how it is. So I'm probably not going to waste a pick on a 3rd or 4th round QB. Right up until we start to see him regress, which I still think we have a good quality 5 to 6 years of Josh Allen playing at a very high level. Let's just get it done. Week 1 is very important. Say that we meet up needing the tiebreaker for the 1 seed. Maybe. But then again, I can't discredit the sheer difference in strength of schedule. So between Buffalo and Baltimore. I can't discredit that. So Baltimore hasn't swept their division in God knows how long. And so with the Buffalo Bills, we typically do. Or we lose 1 game maybe. Sometimes 2. Then, so the Ravens are playing, so the Lions and the Chicago Bears, who look very, very good. And so that Minnesota Vikings defense, which is very, very good. Same thing with the Green Bay Packers, who are really solid as well. So as far as strength of opponents, that's kind of the advantage. And that's why week 1 is not particularly that important to me. And so I still want to win. Trust me, I can promise you that. And so the last thing that I want to do is deal with a bunch of Ravens fans right in my mentions. So I think Buffalo is a better team. And so I think Josh Allen is a better quarterback. For the love of God, for that sake, I hope that we win. And so I really hope, that we do. But I'm not going to be giving up on the season, say that we end up dropping week 1. Cindy has come in, mixed feelings, no chance for injury. But Ravens and Eagles are the only 2 games that worry me. No, not the Chiefs, especially when it comes into the regular season. So we know that we typically have a really good option with the Kansas City Chiefs when we face off. It's just an entire different conversation in the playoffs. So it's definitely a pretty favorable schedule for this Buffalo Bills team. Guys, 149 of you are in here rocking with me right now. Do me a favor and hit that thumbs up sign. It is the easiest way to show a little bit of love over here. Let's get into the conversation. Him not letting Josh play tells you how confident he is also. Josh is a beast. For sure. For sure, man. And again, I feel like the biggest thing was that say that we had a joint practice, which in my opinion, I think is a hell of a lot more valuable than a preseason game as well. Because first off, you're getting a hell of a lot more reps than what you would in a preseason game. And you're playing about as close to 100% as humanly possible, if not more. And so to be honest with you, so I think you'll be okay. So the only thing that worries me is I don't want to start with a slow start. So against Baltimore. But what helps us out as well is that with the Baltimore Ravens, they have historically been known to start slow as well. It's hard for me to give a quality prediction of what we can expect from this overall team, going into week 1. And that's both teams. I'm not sure whether or not that Lamar is planning on getting some preseason reps. I haven't heard specifically, but I do know that he has not had any reps at all. I want to say last preseason he didn't have any reps. So maybe the Bills and the Baltimore Ravens might be having the exact same thing. Who knows? We have Earl Flynn has come in. No preseason snaps will most likely translate to a sloppy game and slow start. Let's hope our defensive line comes to play and slow Jackson. I expect a low-scoring game, 20-17 type of game. So it sounds like my boy is coming in, and he is predicting the under when it comes into it. Tyler Young's in the building. Coastal Carolina, Pi Kappa Phi 339. What's going on, man? Surprise, surprise. Dan Mitchell was a frat guy. All right. And so I have a fraternity brother in here. I'm not going to tell you my initiation number because that would give away my age. I'm just kidding. I was 217. And so you probably have the composite still laying around. Where do you see my mug over there, dude? We have question. And did we get overlooked because of our division? And the other three aren't, no comparison to any AFC divisions. Yeah. So like when you end up looking at, the schedules. So like when I look at contenders for the AFC or contenders for the first seed, so the Bills are the best position to get the 1 seed, regardless of the outcome of week 1. Because again, like when it comes into quality of competition, so the Buffalo Bills, by and large, have the easiest schedule. In fact, I'm pretty sure that we are the 5th easiest schedule in the NFL based off of stuff, right? So we have Baltimore, but then right afterwards, like we have the Jets, we have the Dolphins, we have the New Orleans Saints, we have the Patriots, and then we have the Falcons, I want to say, which for some reason people are very high on and think that they could beat Buffalo. I'm sorry, but I'm not so much convinced on that one, especially at prime time. And so with prime time away, like we already know that this team excels. Barring any sort of significant injury, say that Buffalo stays healthy in all of the right places, I feel like this is probably the easiest year and we're set up the most for success for us to actually steal that 1 seed this year. So again, you're not going to see me running around like the sky is falling, say that we ultimately end up losing to Baltimore. But what is optimistic about this game, I'm still trying to see if Lamar Jackson is going to be taking any like preseason reps. Let me see. Google is our friend. Let's see. Lamar Jackson is fine. What is going on with Lamar Jackson? Lamar Jackson is on a practice today, right after leaving early yesterday with the medical team. Okay, so that's something to monitor here, folks. We definitely do not want an injury for Lamar because that just gives an excuse for Ravens fans once we put belt to ass. But still something to monitor. We have Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson is not practicing after leaving Wednesday's practice early. Ravens said yesterday that Jackson had his foot stepped on and is fine. We have quarterback. So with the Alexander is still not practicing, but he's right on the sideline and he's working out. And then we hear from Lamar saying that God is good. So that's quality from the QB by itself. So I feel like when we look at it, first off, I'm super glad that Lamar is okay. Second off, it sounds like he's not going to be getting any preseason reps either. So I feel like Buffalo and Baltimore are going to be entering the conversation in a very similar circumstance. I suppose we can take that while we leave it. Guys, we currently have 175 of you on YouTube, 96 of you on X. Do me a favor, guys. Let's run this up to 175 like buttons. I think that we can get this done. Let's propel this out to the YouTube community and continue to recruit to our live chat community. I really appreciate you guys hooking it up. All right. What coaches have won Super Bowls on the AFC? That's your problem. Watch those teams. We have Anthony Smith. I don't give a damn if he is injured. Haha. Oh, man. Come on, man. My bad. I thought I saw it was a wrist injury. No issue at all, man. No issue at all. So the game is in Buffalo and we should win. But if we win, I could see that it's going to be a close game. It's definitely going to be a heart attack game. And so I'm not anticipating that this is going to be a huge point differential type of matchup. I could very well see this coming down to a last-minute field goal or like with Josh running like a very successful 2-minute drive or maybe even Lamar doing it as well. It's going to be one of those games. If anybody was hoping for like an easy week 1 win, it's going to be a grind out there. So I'd probably like recommend that several of you go on ahead and say that you are, say that your doctor thinks you should be taking blood pressure medication. I'd probably make sure that like you're up to par with that. I'd probably try to meditate a tad, maybe go for a run or something like that to calm your nerves, but it's going to be a tough one. It's going to be a tough one for sure. I can tell you that already. So is there any update on Gabe Davis? Carl Knight, great question. Because we did have quite a few updates from what happened during the Sean McDermott's press conference right here, and something that we need to sort of look into here. So per Sean McDermott, we did hear that he spoke with Gabe Davis. He was, I believe, there yesterday. And he basically gave the most Sean McDermott answer ever. He said, you know what? Was great speaking with Gabe, was great catching up with him. He then ended up talking to our doctors, and that's about it. So that's really what we're looking at right now. We have no idea. Say, for example, that like we sort of waiting on a specific call. Yeah, I have no idea. It's more than likely, say that it was up to me. So I feel like that this was all an exclusive ploy from Gabe Davis's agent so that he could strong arm Pittsburgh into finally signing a contract, right? What's taking Pittsburgh so long is maybe they're in conversations with Washington for scary Terry McLaurin, for all I know. I don't know. But say that Buffalo does welcome back Gabe, then I can't even begin to tell you what our wide receiver room is going to look like, because that is hands down one of the most heavily debated position groups, where at the beginning of training camp, we thought it was all but solidified. So there are a lot of questions. Luckily, later today for the Bills roundtable, we are going to be giving you our way too early 53-man roster projection. I suppose it's not even way too early anymore. It's actually coming around. But we will see that. What's worse, Dolphins being bad for 20 years or Cowboys not winning a Super Bowl in 29 years? I'd probably say being bad for 20 years. You know what I mean? Spidey Mudd is coming in. Dan, sorry, a bit off topic, but I have my first fantasy league with IDP happening tonight. I'm curious on your thoughts of what round and position I should draft defensive players. So you're going with defensive players right within your draft. So I got to tell you what, I have only ever done standard PPR. I've never done a fantasy draft where you end up drafting defensive players, but drafting a defense as a whole, say that that's what you're asking. I typically end up drafting my defense like last round or like second to last round. It's super important to get playmakers on your squad. Definitely focus on running backs for the first 3, because there is such a significant drop off in running back talent once you get past that 3rd round. Stock up on a bunch of really like high upside wide receivers. But say that you're drafting just a regular defense and just a defensive unit, which I'm assuming you're doing. Yeah, I'd wait for a while. And so I would wait for a while. Indeed. Now, one thing I will tell you is that I have been so high on RotoWire as of late. Thanks to RotoWire, I am going to be winning my fantasy football draft with me and all my boys. It is the number 1, ladies and gentlemen, fantasy football draft kit on the market today. Like Spidey Munn, so he has his fantasy draft tonight. I have my fantasy football draft on Saturday at 3 p.m. So say, for example, that you guys want to lock in and make sure you have the best possible assistant. Highly recommend you go check out. And so our good friends over at RotoWire. It literally holds your hand during the fantasy football draft process. It tells you players to stay away from and some players that have crazy upside round by round. As long as you use my code DAN, D-A-N, then you will receive 15% off. And just prepare to thank me later when you win your fantasy football league, because it's all because of RotoWire. That I can tell you that much. We have Damian coming in. Go Bills, and the easy schedule is cool, but we better not get too comfortable. That's the only thing I'm worried about. What is your take on that? So I think when it comes into game mentality, I think a lot of that starts with the coaching staff. And one narrative that has plagued the Buffalo Bills for quite some time, it's no longer the case now since Joe Brady and Babbage have taken over, is that we always tend to like lose games we're not supposed to, or we struggle against teams that we're not supposed to struggle against. And so I got to tell you, last year, I did not see a single instance of that. And so I didn't see a matchup where I walked into knowing that Buffalo was going to win, and then we ultimately ended up losing, right? So I don't think that this team from a culture standpoint is built like that. And so I think that they are going to be doing business. And the only time that we'll ever have an off game, we'd likely like have an answer as into why. So whether or not that's like us losing a couple of starters and we're forced to deal with a couple of so we'd be forced to deal with a couple of like second strings that maybe aren't pulling their weight. But I just don't think that this team is at that point anymore. And it all starts with the perfect combination of a coaching staff. And I genuinely believe that that's what we have right now. Uh, Gabe is back. Wait, no. Is that true? Hold on. I haven't seen an official update, or maybe that was a question, Billy. Say that was a question. Hold up. Okay, so this guy is a fake. Okay, so so this is a fake account. Have no fear. Sean McDermott stated that Gabe Davis did meet with the Bills medical staff during his visit with the team. That's likely the biggest issue with Gabe Davis is his medicals. And shout out to Bilton Buffalo, by the way. I'd rather have Amari Cooper back than Gabe Davis. I really don't get the Amari Cooper obsession. And so I get it, but like, yeah, I'll pass. And so I feel like he's redundant. So especially when you're going on ahead and you're making the comparison to Joshua Palmer. That's kind of where I'm at. Let me see. And so do I switch to a Bills fan because when I ever comment, Dan doesn't seem interested in the question that I ask. Dude, you know what, man? I try my best so to go on ahead and get to each and every single comment in here. So I regularly have quite a few people in here, so it's nothing personal. And so I will do my best to get to as many comments as I possibly can. So nothing against you, my friend. And Cooper was more name than game. Absolutely. I think Cooper retired. Not that I know of. Cooper had 2 good plays. We have Light of Truth. So the poetic good afternoon, Light of Truth. What's going on? Dan the man is here. What thrills in the house? Let's go Bills. An online hitter. Don Mafia man. Everything Bills. Yes, he can. With Josh Allen as #1 quarterback, he'll be fine. Watch and see. Talk about the ultimate hype man in the chat right now from Light of Truth. I appreciate you, my friend. Thank you so much for showing the continued love. All right. So we did have a couple of updates that I did kind of want to show you guys for the most part. Okay. And thankfully, Mike Rose from, I believe he's from, the Batavia newspaper or something along those lines. He was nice enough to list out the full, to list out the full IR or the injury report. And a couple of updates, which I find to be interesting. It sounds like Grant DeBose, who was literally brought on this team just a couple of days ago, he's receiving a collarbone surgery. So I'm not even particularly sure that he's going to be ready this year. I didn't really think that there was an optimistic path for him to make this roster in the first place, which makes me question why would we bring him on in the first place? But that's something to think about. Travis Clayton has a concussion. I believe Grable does as well. Some of the regular names, Cedric Van Pran Granger is still out. And when Sean McDermott was asked of whether or not that he still thinks he could be getting some preseason reps on Saturday, it didn't sound too optimistic. Like, he's not practicing. Like, he's had 0 reps. He's definitely had some issues with injuries so far this season. So it's hard for, like, I suppose I'm really nervous about his future for this team because, say, for example, that Connor McGovern, or say that we want to move on from Connor McGovern at any point, Cedric Van Pran Granger was supposed to be like our answer. So I'm not sure the status of him. Like, will we end up releasing him on an injury settlement? Because this calf injury is obviously a hell of a lot more serious than we initially anticipated. So that's something to watch out for. So with Shakir is still out, obviously, with that high ankle sprain. You have Jordan Hancock. That was already mentioned that he is not going to be playing on Saturday. And Stephen Gosnell, I believe, is also injured. And so to some degree. And then Connor McGovern is limited. He must have got banged up during the past preseason game, but we will see. We will see indeed. Okay. And so how many times will Trey get cooked week 1? He's going to be fine. He's going to be fine, man. We'll see how that plays out. William is coming in. If Gabe comes back, he will most likely be placed on the IR. So which would mean, and say that he does come back and we do stash him on the IR, then that means more than likely we're just keeping 5 active wide receivers. Highly doubt that we would have 7, right? I'm still trying to find a place for Shavers on this squad. In my opinion, say that we don't bring in Gabe Davis. I suppose it's a possibility now, right? Especially since he visited Buffalo. He's met with the training staff already. If there is news that Gabe Davis is coming back, then I think Curtis Samuel and or Elijah Moore, it's going to be one or the other, is going to be traded off somewhere. And so I'm not sure who would want to trade for them, excuse me. And it's going to be even more increasingly difficult for Shavers to make this roster. So because when it comes into special teams contributions, the big battle there for me is Chenault and Shavers. And Chenault, unfortunately, for those of you that are really hoping that Shavers can make this squad, is a much more valuable piece to this team on special teams than Shavers is. So in my opinion, the only way that Shavers makes this roster would be that we need to be like hoping and praying that Buffalo can find a trade partner for either Curtis Samuel or Elijah Moore. And so we can't release either of them. I suppose you could release Elijah Moore with limited cap implication, I suppose. But I feel like that's one of the only ways, because Chenault, in my opinion, is a lock. And so I'd be shocked, say that Buffalo wanted to move on from somebody that's so versatile on special teams. So he's an absolute dog when it comes into kick returns. He can like have multiple responsibilities on special teams. Like he's far too valuable for us to walk away from Chenault, like barring some like crazy injury. And say that Gabe Davis comes back. So if Gabe Davis comes back and he's healthy, I really don't see Shavers making this squad. But then again, it's something to think about, right? Because yes, so I suppose that like we have beef with like Davis, right? But sometimes I feel like we need to look at it from this perspective. We walked away from him because we didn't think that he deserved wide receiver 2 money. And that's fair. And so I think I agree with you. And the Jacksonville Jaguars realized that, and just 1 year right into him being on the team. But I think I can tell you what, I feel like he's a better wide receiver 4 / a wide receiver 5 than Terrell Shavers would be. So he has more experience and has more of a history, right? It's definitely the safer move. So, yeah, I don't know. And look, trust me, I am rooting for Shavers to make this squad. I am. But it's very difficult for me to find a path for him to make it, barring some trade of either Samuel or Elijah Moore. And if Gabe Davis comes back too, that's an entire different conversation. But we will see. I need Zy Alexander to beat out Dane. I couldn't find what happened to him to be released, but I thought that he was pretty decent in college. I mean, yeah, dude, we ended up bringing in Zy Alexander as well. He was also on my draft board for about a day 3 pick for the Buffalo Bills. Let's see. Let's see if somehow he can weasel his way onto this roster. We're going to have to see what's going on. We have Eric White, hasn't been good in years. He hasn't done anything to make us feel positive about him, and Chenault should definitely make this team for sure. Question. So are the Bills playing the long game, meaning we don't really suck on defense? So that's an interesting question. No, I don't think that Buffalo chooses to be a bend but not break type of defense. No, I do not believe that Buffalo chooses to be a terrible third down defense where like we almost automatically let up a 3rd and 11 or a 3rd and 12, which was certainly the narrative last year. that could all be fixed with pass rush. And we haven't seen our entire first team and our actual rotation on the defensive line in reality. And so we'll get our first taste of that on week 1. I probably wouldn't walk away with a lot of conclusions on that one because we're playing a very talented quarterback. We're playing a different type of player. But no, I don't think that Buffalo chooses so to be a bend but not break. I'm hoping that all of our adjustments this offseason will fix everything. That's kind of my goal for this squad at the very least. So we shall see. It's simple for me. And so I feel more comfortable going into a playoff game with Davis as a depth wide receiver than Shavers. Yeah, it's so Shavers is definitely a good story, but like he's really just speculation. So he's a speculation player. And in all fairness, so is Joshua Palmer and so is Elijah Moore. Both of those players are what I would like to label as speculation guys that we just look at and we see a ceiling. Like we're like, oh, so the both of them haven't been used appropriately and there's not enough subject matter, but we're just aiming at upside. Sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. And that's the best analogy I think that I could put together for Gabe Davis versus Shavers for this roster. And for all I know, maybe we don't sign Gabe Davis, but I suppose I'm just trying to get ahead of it right in case we do. Shavers, we really don't know what kind of player he would be, like getting crazy and consistent reps. And so because remember as well, so there's not a lot of tape of him out there. So barring that one pass that we saw last year. So you're just going to slide from here to 4th and forever, Dan? Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. The hardest working man in the Bills community. You know what I mean? So do you think week 3 preseason game would solidify the starting free safety? I don't know. So I think it all depends on how everyone performs, right? I'm still not convinced who's going to be getting the starting call for week 1. I feel like I have an idea, and so I feel like a lot of you are going to be upset about who it's going to be, but I just have a gut feeling it's going to be Damar Hamlin and Taylor Rapp week 1, and so I hope I'm wrong. But like Cole Bishop is really going to have to impress McDermott, so in order for him to be that guy. And as much as I would love for Jordan Hancock to be out there, like him getting injured last preseason game wiped away the very small chance that he had an opportunity of doing it. And Mikey said he said it. Okay. Yeah. Well, look at that, folks. It's Damar Hamlin. Okay. So are we going to be ready in the safety room before the regular season? If so, who? I think we just need to accept the fact that it's Damar Hamlin. Put Shavers on the field. Patrick wants Shavers on this squad more than he wants to breathe air. I love it, man. I'm keeping the Mafia. Okay. He's keeping the Mafia with the okay, and updated. Your hard work is much appreciated. I am an entertainer, and I'm glad that I'm able to do it for you, my friend. Thank you so much. Guys, once this stream is over, you are going to be redirected to my daily NFL news show. It's called 4th and Forever. It's where we unpack all of the rumors going across the NFL. It sounds like, per reports, that this NFL world should be shocked with some trade moves coming up. That's per Tom Pelissero just a couple of hours ago. So I highly suggest that once the stream is over, you will be redirected over to 4th and Forever. Please tap in. It's myself, it's Richie, it's TD, and we cover everything NFL. And when you get redirected, just do me a favor and turn on those bell notifications and subscribe to that channel as well, because we have a great time over there. And we're trying to make sure that we are your number one go-to NFL news show on the internet. 344 of you are in here. 189 of you are on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up sign. Let's have our conversation. I'm sorry to say, but alongside it's Cam Lewis and Hancock right over Hamlin. We will be better. Yeah, no need to apologize about that. I think the vast majority of us agree with you, but it's just a matter of what Sean McDermott decides, right? So with the everybody that says Hamlin is a backup, but now that he's starting because our starter is not cutting it, people are killing Hamlin. Oh my God. We have Micah Parsons to the Bills. No, it's not actual news. You're just trying to manifest it. Can Taron Johnson move to safety and maybe Maxwell Harrison can move to nickel? I don't think that Sean McDermott would entertain that. So I'm a huge proponent, right? Like I'm fine. So I'm fine with moving a player to a different position. So as long as he is so long story short, say that Taron Johnson wasn't already top 5 as a slot corner, why fix what's not broken? If Taron Johnson was like a middle of the road like type slot corner, then for sure. So I'd certainly be intrigued by that, right? So reflecting back on Christian Benford, so when he was first drafted, a big storyline was, oh my God, I wonder if Christian Benford could potentially or eventually move over to safety. That got shot down quick because it turned out that he was one of the best perimeter corners in the league. My rule of thought is say that you have a player that's already incredible, like when it comes into being his current position, like don't fix what's not broken. That's my take. But we have Dane Jackson at safety. Relax. Okay. So I wouldn't move anyone to safety unless they have a lost athletic ability. And there is a reason people are corners, and there's a reason why they are safeties. Very, very true. What about Dorian Strong and him playing safety? I'm not even particularly sure that he has any experience there. And shifting positions does take some time. It definitely takes a lot of time to learn, even at the professional level. So the only players that I really think would make sense is Jordan Hancock, because number one, he played safety and slot corner in college at Ohio State. So he at least has experience at that position. He is the player I'm really hoping eventually takes over at safety. Not unless Cole Bishop comes back, right? Because like when Cole Bishop and Bobby Babich had a really interesting point yesterday during his press conference where he said, look, like this Cole Bishop situation is very similar to what we saw from Terrell Bernard his first 2 seasons of the year, right? First training camp, he was hurt. Second training camp, he was hurt for the vast majority of it as well. And then now Terrell Bernard is the guy that we know that he is. So hopefully Cole Bishop, he takes that path, like similar to Bernard, and he doesn't take the Kyer Elam path. I think that's what we're all hoping, right? And Sean McDermott, again, today, he said that I'm fully confident in Cole. He just needs the reps. So we'll see, I guess. Here. And shout out to Kevin as well.
You get a lot of time with Bishop. So I think back to Terrell Bernard, where he was in year 2. Yep. You get a lot of time. Everybody didn't know. Yep. Is there a moment where you want to be as sure as possible, but at a point you go, we're going to give this guy a shot? And I'm only saying that about Cole because he's almost in a similar spot.
Yeah, it's a great comparison, right? I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, Terrell Bernard missed the entire preseason that year. Yeah, so very similar, right? Very similar situation, and it worked out. And look, like the best thing, I say this all the time, the best teacher is failure. That's the best teacher. You go back to all the players we've had here that have come and the players that are here that have had accolades, right? Matt Milano's, Tre'Davious, right? The best teacher is failure. The best teacher is scars. So as you grow, to be able to grow, you got to do that off of failure. And like I said, it's the best teacher. And like for TB, I'm sure he'd come up here and tell you that there were things that happened that first year that were right now. He can see things happening where that first year he was just running around playing defense, and experience and failure are the best teachers. And, very similar situation. I don't.
Yeah. So it sounds like Bobby Babich agrees. It sounds like Bobby Babich agrees. We saw somebody come in and say, so is this Micah Parsons being spotted at our airport true? No, it is not. No, it is not. I am so sorry. So sorry that you were got on social media. Unfortunately, it is not true. And so I would be a lot more comfortable if Josh even played one series on Saturday. I feel like you and I are on the same page. Dan, the Mafia, man. What is good? I am doing well, Beth. I hope all is well with you. And so apparently Jerry Jones went on Fox News yesterday because, of course, It's Jerry Jones, man. Look at that. Well, waiting for you to come on here, I found the video of you, of the NFL symbol knowledge. Too funny. Look at that. Look at that. I have to delete that video because that's no longer a thing. So what would you think if the Bills reached out to all pro Poe? So I'll tell you what. Maybe, but that would probably only be a similar situation to what we saw from Micah Hyde last year. So a practice squad guy, we have Mikey saying, "Oh, yeah." So that was that's no longer a thing. But I feel like I have to delete that video. Don't worry about it, though. Don't worry about it. I will indeed. No issue. Yeah, no issue, man. Oh, good God. No worries. And Josh threw 4 passes last preseason. For sure. What's an extra 4? We may have a slow start, but as long as people are getting their reps in and stay healthy, the growth will be there. Absolutely, Spuddy Munn. Absolutely. And so Mikey goes, "Oh, yeah. Hey, you know what, man? It's awkward is what it is. Right? Yeah, we'll see. We live and we learn. 201 of you are in here. All right, guys. That's going to have to do it for today's show. I really appreciate you guys coming in on the really weird schedule. And so as many of you guys know, you are going to be redirected to my NFL daily news show called Fourth and Forever. It's on the Roundtable Sports Network. We are set to start in about 10 minutes. So I ask each and every single one of you, even if you can't make the show, definitely consider subscribing and turning on bell notifications. We're going to be unpacking all of the news that's happening across the league as we speak. I really hope to see you over there. And let me know that you came from this stream in the chat when you do so. I will see you at Fourth and Forever here starting in about 10 minutes, and we will see you shortly. Bye-bye.